Hello, YouTube. How you doing? Good, I hope. Um, it's still winter. Shocker. At least here anyway. Um, New England in February. But it's a really nice day today, actually. I went outside. I had an appointment I had to go to, and I went outside and it was like 40 degrees. I felt like it was a heat wave. I had to turn down the heat in my car and everything else, but I'm like, now the next time I get in it, if it's like 10 degrees again, it's not going to heat up the same. I forgot to put it back. But anyway, I came on here to talk briefly about expectations and disappointments within relationships. Now, when I say relationships, I don't mean just like love matches. I mean, it could be familial, it could be friendship, it could be companionship, it could just be coworkers, whatever, any kind of relationship that we may experience in the world. When we have too many expectations around it, right? When we have too many, oftentimes we expect people to show up as we would show up. Let's put it that way. And sometimes this is accurate if we're being really discerning as far as the people that we surround ourselves with. But, it doesn't always happen. So sometimes we bump into strangers and we walk away like, how could they be so rude? Or how did that happen? Or whatever. We have all kinds of scenarios that we encounter in our lives. But with regards to the closer relationships, the ones that we maybe deal with on a daily basis or, sorry, I got rogue hairs. It just, I didn't condition my hair today, so now it's like I got like little wispies and they itch and I try not to futz, but yeah, it is what it is. In any case, people can only show up as good as they show up for themselves. So we hear this oftentimes simplified when people say, you'll only have the kind of love that you can have for yourself. So self-love, right? If you don't love yourself, how do you expect to love someone else or whatever? It's a very oversimplification of what I'm trying to say. But at the end of the day, if I am forever in distraction mode and I never sit with myself to help with growing, evolving, healing, you name it, that's hard work, as my last couple videos talked a little bit more about. But necessary work if we want to move forward and find happiness within our lives and within ourselves, okay? But if we're forever avoiding, say, trauma and not healing it, or not recognizing some of our behavioral patterns that may be self-sabotage or can be toxic. I mean, none of us are perfect, okay? We all have, just because someone may have like narcissistic tendencies doesn't make them a narcissist, right? That's all or nothing thinking. We all have toxic traits, and sometimes we didn't even realize we had them until something in our environment triggers it out of us. And then it's like, oh, I didn't even know that was there. And that's what triggers are meant for with regards to healing, is to help bring it to our attention so that we can work with it and heal it. Because sometimes there are things that we had no idea because it's coming from the unconscious or the subconscious. There are other things that we're working on that are more conscious level and that we are consciously working on, right? But that's how we get to those things. It's not like one day we wake up and there's a whole list of things that, oh, I got to work on this and this and this and this. And then typically it's through those triggers or interactions with others that bring it to the forefront of our mind that says, okay, well, I can distract from this and ignore it, or I can work on this and try and evolve, heal, and grow. Okay. We all have choice. So there's no such thing as not making the choices. We all reach a point in our lives where we either want better or we want to stick with what we're familiar with. And I'm going to even go so far as to say there's no right or wrong with that, because sometimes we have to relive experiences before we truly learn lessons or before we integrate those lessons. Okay. But in any case, if I'm someone who, hypothetically, if I'm someone who distracts from my bad habits, judgment, right? And not sit with why I have them in the first place or try to change them actively in some way, then hypocrisy would say, why am I getting mad at someone else who maybe is projecting their bad habits onto me? Right? I mean, we all have pockets of hypocrisy. We all do. Sometimes it's not overt. Sometimes we don't even realize it because we haven't sat with that and didn't even realize that we had those tendencies. And then we see it reflected back at us. And it's like, ooh, if we are on some kind of a self-growth path and we care and want to change and evolve and grow, then we might sit with that and say, interesting. Where did that come from? Right? And what do I do with it? How can I grow through that? How can I learn? How can I move forward? But in any case, if I'm forever lying to myself, I'm probably going to lie within my other relationships and dynamics, because I'm only going to be as good for others as I am for myself first. So if you're hanging out with someone who's in constant denial around their own behaviors and how they're showing up within your relationship dynamic, the point with this is, why do you keep trying to get blood from a stone? If they can't even be honest with themselves, how do you expect them to be honest with you? If they are constant or in constant conflict within themselves, what do you think they're going to bring to the relationship? Right? It's just something to think about. It's just one more level in the dynamic. Not to blame or I'm mentioning this to gain insight, okay? Because sometimes, for me, when I look at that, it's not so I can psychoanalyze someone else and say, well, this is what you got to work on. No. For me, it's my own internal work that says, well, why are you holding on to this and expecting this type of behavior if the person is incapable at this stage in their life? That doesn't mean they'll forever be incapable. However, do you want to put your life on hold? I don't know. Everyone's different. Some people would wait for people forever, even to their own detriment. Sometimes that's the distraction, right? Well, I don't have to work on myself if I'm waiting for this person to catch up or da-da. And it's not like one person's better than the other. It's not meant to be comparisons. It's just, we're either in alignment or we're not. But ultimately, we harm ourselves by putting unfair expectations on people who have not learned the lessons in order to be able to show up in the way that we feel like they should. And we see that a lot with like parents, where it's like, well, my parents should love me like this. My friends' parents do, or my parents should show up like this, da, 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 da. Every person alive can find fault, at least one little fault with their parents. And that's when we have kids, we then try and make up for those things or whatever. It's like a whole cyclical thing. That doesn't mean you don't love your parents. It doesn't mean that your parents are terrible people. It just means that, life is about learning and hopefully trying to better and grow. Not in comparison to someone else. That's apples and oranges. We're all on different soul paths. We're all in different areas in those soul paths. So when I'm saying this, I'm not trying to imply that one person is better than the other and that they should wait for da da da. That's not what I mean. I just mean that sometimes we have learned lessons. And that doesn't mean that, like, the person that maybe we learned the lesson and they haven't, they might have learned lessons that we haven't learned. Okay? So again. But sometimes there are lessons that we've learned, and then we realize this person doesn't understand that. So why do I keep treating them like they should? Should. Shaming word, right? And I think one thing we have learned, or at least we can accept, is that shaming doesn't help anybody. No, it doesn't mean we don't do it. It's kind of a human thing. Judging, shaming. That's what we do. And oftentimes we do it to ourselves more than we do it to anyone else. In any case, be mindful of those things. When people show you through their behaviors, actions, and sometimes even words, where they're at, what they're capable of, stop treating them as if they should be more. Maybe they can't be at this time. Maybe they don't want to be. But deluding yourself into thinking that they should be, and therefore I will keep expecting that, is only going to hurt yourself. Because not everyone has learned the same lessons as you. Again, it doesn't make them better or worse. However, if you find that the relationships you surround yourself with keep leaving you in a place of lack or in heartache, there's a lesson there. How do you create your best life? How do you surround yourself with people that you are in alignment with? A lot of it is mindfulness, paying attention. Is this person making me feel better about myself or worse? And I don't mean in false bravado, like love bombing or things like that. That's a whole different lesson. One that most of us have had to learn the hard way too. Okay? My point, though, is when we're mindful and we're paying attention to our physical response, how do we feel emotionally? What are the thoughts that are triggered? And that's that self-growth. When we pull it back and make it about learning, using these things as examples of helping ourselves understand on a higher level, it can save us a lot of grief. But like I said, we're only going to show up as good as we show up for ourselves first. And that goes for every human being alive. Okay? And sometimes, well, I'm going to leave that there because I could talk forever. But in any case, I hope you have a wonderful day. Enjoy this heat wave of 40 degrees. And have a wonderful week ahead. It's my month. It's my birthday month. I love February. So I hope you have a wonderful February. I know I do every single day. So I will talk to you soon. And I'm wishing you all the best. Okay. Bye.